Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for FMT's presentation of Deliver Projects on Time and Within Budget with Project Online and SharePoint. My name is Lucas Darling, and I'm an account executive here at FMT, and I'm joined by one of our very own senior SharePoint consultants, Joel Verret, who will be guiding you through this webinar today. For those of you who aren't familiar with FMT, I'd like to just take a few moments to give you a brief introduction to our company. Here at FMT, we opened up for business in 1995, and since then we have successfully completed over 1,500 projects and have accumulated over 350 clients, spanning the U.S. and even into Canada. During this time, we've been able to grow our internal team to about 80+ team members, and they're located in our LA offices as well as our headquarters in Carlsbad, and then we have a few resources sprinkled throughout the United States, so we're there to cover you, from East Coast to West Coast. At FMT, we pride ourselves on really 5 core values, which we really hire people on, and we like to hold ourselves to every day. These values you can see on the screen are integrity, we say what we do; service excellence, every client is satisfied; collaboration, we have a lot of different departments and we all work together to make sure the client's getting the best solution; innovation, complex. These solutions our consultants work with every day, they're complex, but when you have a plan, you can make these things simple. And then passion, that's pretty straightforward. We love what we do. You're going to get the best consultants, and they're going to love the job that they're doing. The FMT way, it's really something you begin to understand once you engage and begin doing work with us. With our combination of talent, experience, and methodology, we're fully dedicated to the success of your company. And we offer a wider range of services pertaining to ERP, CRM, SharePoint, BI, Office 365. And in addition to our offerings, we do have an entire department dedicated specifically to customer support with 13 full-time senior consultants serving our clients from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. One of the things that FMT really prides ourselves on is having extremely experienced consultants who are versed in all kinds of backgrounds, industries, systems, and they really have been in your spot. They understand your struggles, and they know how to help you. I would like to point out that we are a Microsoft Gold partner, as well as both a preferred partner for Dell and NetSuite. So Microsoft, yeah. And I would just like to take a moment to show you a few of the clients that we get to work with on a daily basis. And you can see a couple of them up there. We have a standing relationship with all these companies and many more, of course. We serve hundreds of clients, and we just can't fit them all on this little slide right here. But these are a few that we just want to bring to the forefront. So now I'm going to hand it over to Joel. But before I do, if at any point during the presentation you have a question, feel free to type them into the comment box. We will be monitoring it during the entire presentation, and then we could address those questions at the end for you guys. Joel, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lucas. Basically, I wanted to thank everyone for taking some time this morning. And for some of you, I know we've got a broad audience. Some of you are taking time during your lunch hour and spending it with us for today's seminar, and hope you guys get a lot out of it. What I wanted to do was share our agenda. And as Lucas mentioned, towards the end of our presentation, we will have a question and answer session. We'll probably dedicate about 10 minutes of that. So please don't be shy. Go ahead and type in any questions that you may have in the box, and Lucas will monitor it, and we will make sure that we have some time later on to address any of those questions. If you don't wish to have those questions answered in a public format, feel free to reach out to us directly. My name is Joel Verret, as mentioned, and that is my direct email address, and you can feel free to email me any of your questions. I believe also as a follow-up to this presentation, we will also have some of our staff members personally reach out to you and just make sure that everything is followed up on with regards to any questions that you may have. Today's topic is project management and delivering projects on time and on budget using Microsoft's project management tools. As you heard from Lucas's intro, FMT Consultants has a wide array of service offerings, and I represent the SharePoint practice and bring Project Server, Project Online, Office 365, and business process improvement experience in general. I've worked with a number of firms of various sizes and kind of been blessed in terms of being able to travel worldwide representing the Microsoft stack and representing the Microsoft solutions. Specifically in project management, I've consulted with companies in various industries like pharma, financial services, insurance, manufacturing. And I've also worked with a number of organizations that have various levels of project management maturity. I've worked with some really, really great organizations that have all their ducks in a row. And I've also worked with other organizations that are pretty much project management superstars in the making. And through the years, what I've found is most everyone is that when you're dealing with projects, you have some things that remain predictable and some things that frequently change. One thing that is pretty predictable is the definition of a project. And I always like to start a lot of my presentations with this particular definition, just so we set the baseline, if you will, no pun intended. The Project Management Institute defines a project as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. Keyword here is temporary. It's basically temporary with a beginning and an end. It's got resources and different types of tasks that need to be completed towards the fulfillment of a project. When I mentioned beginning and end, I'm sure I've worked with a lot of project management organizations, and sometimes they get these projects that just will never end. Basically, they're spending their time trying to herd resources, stretch budgets, and meet deadlines. And part of FMT's enterprise project management methodology includes spending some time on the front end and gathering implementation requirements from our clients. What I always hear at every client, regardless of industry, is that they want to use our recommendations and consultations to help deliver projects on time and on budget. So how do we do that? Well, traditionally, based on the industry, we do that a couple ways. One is that we model best practice. What you would do as a project manager is you connect with other experienced project managers or kind of interact with more mature project management organizations. Last week, I had the privilege of speaking to the Project Management Institute and just delivering a message on similar to this, where we were introducing the Microsoft tools, and what they were doing is they were there learning from each other. They were from various different industries, and what they were doing was sharing best practice, learning more, not just from the content that was being delivered by myself, but also learning from each other and earning PDUs in the process. Another thing that you learn from a project standpoint to keep things on time and on budget is the concept of if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So how do you do that? How do you resolve against that? You basically, connect yourself with various different types of methodologies. I've heard Agile, Waterfall, Six Sigma. Regardless of which one you're using, you're basically making sure that you're taking everyone's experience in the past, as well as the key concept that you learned from the PMBOK or the Project Management Book of Knowledge, and you're basically implementing that into your project plan and project goal. In addition to that, you are encouraged to communicate and manage. Communicate progress to your stakeholders, communicate with your resources and making sure you're up to date with status reports, update reports, being able to track issues and risks, action items, and at the end of a project, lessons learned. That's very, very key and very, very important, because a lot of times people utilize the lessons that they learn, and you may be following a certain methodology, but you've got different departments or different resources that have different priorities that may conflict with that person's assignment to your particular task. Finally, one of the things that we want to emphasize is that you use the right project management tools for the job. Now, the first thing that comes up usually when people talk to me about the tools is, I'm a small organization. I track my I track my projects in the #1 project management tool out there, which is Microsoft Excel, and which is good when you're actually managing different tasks. But some of the challenges that come up can include, how do you get a Gantt chart in Microsoft Excel, or how do you create a timeline in Microsoft Excel? How do you update a plan in Microsoft Excel? And basically, if you follow these these bullet points, if you follow these particular bullet points, you're pretty much guaranteed an on-time and on-budget project, right? No, not really. Not really. And the reason a lot of times people who follow these particular things, these particular items, don't get a successful on-time and on-budget delivery is life. Pretty much life happens. No project is actually equally perfect. And a lot of times, even if you're modeling best practice and you're swimming with the sharks or flying with the eagles, or in this case, as you can see here, swimming with with the dolphins, you're still in a situation where it's not really agile enough to actually display the reality. And the reality is life can keep your projects off track. So one of the things that some of the ways that you can kind of warn yourself away from that is to stay away from not so best practice. One of the things that, to give you an example of a not so best practice, in my past life, I was working with a professional project manager that told me, Joel, I've never had a problem being on time and on budget. When my cost variance report comes in, comparing my actuals versus my baseline, I just set the numbers to what it's supposed to be. Then I re-baseline, problem solved, report looks great. Not really. I mean, these types of shortcuts may look great on paper. However, it's still not an accurate, true reflection of how that project is actually going. Another thing that you want to do is you want to handle all projects differently, and you want to handle all projects differently, so that way basically everyone's on the same page. When I mention handling projects differently, one of my colleagues kind of gave an example, which is called the Dr. Frankenstein plan. And what they mean by that is, I've got to create a project plan for this new project that I'm working on, and I'm going to take the requirements gathering phase from this particular project, and then I'll take the development phase from this project and the deployment phase from this project, and put them all together in one particular project. I'll go ahead and clear the baselines, clear the percentage completes, update my resources, and boom, I've got a brand new great project plan based off of best practice. Will it help? Will it work? Well, sure. The arms and legs of your plan may have worked in previous respective projects, but really, did you invest enough time to make sure that these components are compatible towards the goal, the project's unique goal of on time and on budget? And that's something that you definitely want to look into. Another thing that you want to make sure of is that you're managing, you want to differentiate managing projects versus reporting on projects. And what I mean by that is, I've worked with a number of organizations that create two projects. One, which is the project that they're managing themselves towards the execution of the project, and another project which they manage milestones or manage updates, and they submit that secondary project to upstream, so that way they would be able to have that as the representation of the report. And in that case, it's not really a representation of the reality, and the reports can be skewed based off of that information. Okay, some words of wisdom to kind of guard against these particular items. Obviously, based on the definition of a project, you want to set measurable goals with a fixed timeline and a baseline. The emphasis is on the back end, which is the and a baseline. A lot of folks say, you don't really know you're headed the right direction unless you take a snapshot in the beginning and make sure that every step along the way of your project management, you've got something to compare it to. So in essence, the baseline would be the end goal and the execution, and it'll help you make sure that you're keeping your costs at a manageable level, and you're also keeping your schedule appropriately, and it'll forewarn you for any types of issues or potential risks that may occur. Another thing you want to do is know where you stand. When I say that, I mean, from a project perspective, you're not doing yourself any favors by being out there and making a really pretty project plan when it's not really a true reflection of reality. So you want to make sure that if you're undereducated, or if you are in project management process, or if you're you're still a superstar in the making with Microsoft Project or different types of methodologies, that you're really tying into those pockets of education and people and peers to make sure that you're getting to that point where you can swim with the dolphins. Another thing you want to do is take each project you face as a new experience. Stay away from the Dr. Frankenstein approach of taking various types of components, or invest time in making sure that you've got a full understanding of your organization's project methodology, and that you're taking each project as a unique instance. Avoid creating two projects in one. One of the things we do here at FMT is we want to make sure that when we consult with clients, we want to make sure that the best practice of managing projects, as well as the reporting of those projects are one and the same, because the goal ultimately is that you're not managing two projects for the same endeavor. You're actually managing one, and you're focused in on making sure that your plan is reflective of the reality, and thus your reports being reflective of the reality as well. This really helps out when it comes to user adoption, because really the project manager only has to do their job and what's expected of them, and they don't feel like they're critiqued based off of metrics that may not necessarily be the reality. Okay. Another thing you want to do is prioritize responsiveness. What I mean by that is when you're working with the resources that you have in place, sometimes those resources may have different priorities or different types of things that may distract them from completing your particular tasks. You want to make sure that you're constantly communicating with them and making sure that you're responsive towards anything that they may need. All right. Finally, use the proper tools for the right job. Now, in this particular webinar, we've got people from various types of industries and various types of project management maturity. So what we wanted to do was kind of share with you this slide, which kind of details the project management solution spectrum. If you look at the slide itself, you can see at the x-axis or the bottom, you can see that the x-axis represents the low to high collaboration, and then the y-axis represents the level of process. So as an individual, if you are using basic project management or task management, if you will, you would use Excel and basically detail some tasks that you want to accomplish, and kind of keep that up to date. Perhaps call your resources and say, hey, how's that development task going? Or, hey, when do you think that this particular deliverable will be done? And based on that, you would just go ahead and update it. Now, that is great, as mentioned, when you're just one person and you can manage that. However, a number of people work with a work group or different other folks in terms of accountability. In addition to that, from an Excel standpoint, you've also got technical challenges. So a number of folks that use Excel are challenged as a project manager to produce a Gantt chart or to produce a timeline. And usually when you hit that particular threshold of Gantt charting, timeline, reports, that's when you actually step up to Microsoft Project Standard or Microsoft Project Professional. And that gives you the timelines, that gives you the Gantt charts, that also gives you the ability to manage dependencies easily. And everything is, everything's kind of hunky-dory until you actually have to share that information with a team. I give you an example of, I'm a project manager, I'm updating my plan, and basically what I'm going to do is once I update my plan, I'm going to go ahead and send it over to Lucas to update the tasks that I've assigned for him. And so what I'll do is I'll take that plan, I'll email it over to Lucas and say, hey, Lucas, can you go ahead and update that for me? And he'll say, no, I can't. I don't have Microsoft Project. Problem, right? So basically what would happen is he would have to call me and I would just have to update it just like I would do in Excel. Now, let's say he does have Microsoft Project and he does update that plan. What he'll do is he'll return that project file back to me that says, project name / Lucas. And then it's my responsibility to take that project plan that he created and integrate it with my project plan just to keep the two in sync. Sound familiar? Well, I mean, that works to a certain extent. And once you hit that threshold of having to integrate multiple pockets of information, not just for keeping a project up to date, but also for keeping reports, that's when you get into the basic team collaboration aspect, where you're working with either SharePoint or Office 365, and utilizing the collaboration features there. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with SharePoint and Office 365, basically it is a portal solution, a series of libraries and lists that allow you to work and collaborate with your team members, and allows you to set different types of security levels so you can easily share information and access the proper information based off of everyone working on the same page. So when it comes to basic team collaboration, what I can do is I can basically take the project plan that I created, synchronize it with Microsoft Office 365 SharePoint task lists, and then grant access to my resource to be able to update those tasks as needed. All right. That usually works well for a lot of organizations. However, sometimes what happens is at the highest level, you have what's called project management organizations. And these project management organizations have even a higher level of project management requirements. Those requirements could be, hey, I've got a timekeeping system in OpenAir, and what I'd like to do is take these OpenAir time entries and import them in a project server, because that's what I want to, project server or project online, because that's what I wish to do my reports off of. I've got actual dollars that I maintain in my SAP ERP system that I would like integrated into Project Online, so that way the project manager can kind of forecast based off of the actuals that basically come in and the work that's already been done. In a previous life, I worked for a very large communications organization, and we helped them basically set that up where we're pulling information from SAP bi-weekly, which gives us basically the actuals or the dollar amounts for all the projects in the portfolio, and then 2 weeks later, and then we give the project managers 2 weeks to update their plans and update their forecasts. And basically, we would report using Microsoft SQL Service reporting services or Power BI, based not only on the work that's being done and the deadlines and the milestones that we're trying to reach, but also the true dollar amounts that have been imported from external systems. These are kind of the things that you have at the highest level, and it's definitely something that FMT has basically consulted on, utilizing not just the SharePoint and the project server team, but also we also have like a business intelligence team, a CRM team, and an ERP team that our experience, not just in implementing various types of solutions, but also tying the Microsoft solutions together. All right. As mentioned, I've consulted with a lot of organizations. So when it comes to providing an on-time and on-budget delivery, a lot of those pains usually happen with 3 topics based on 3 components. One is the resources. I want to be able to take a look and assign the proper resource to my particular task. Another thing that they would want to do is I want to make sure that I know what my resources are working on, who's over allocated, who's available. Yes, I can use Alice for this particular task, but she's busy. Does my demand justify a contractor? Well, these are particular pain points that can be addressed utilizing some of the tools that I'll show you a little later on. From a project standpoint, we've always mentioned this, on budget, on schedule. We want to make sure that our projects are in line, but not only do we want to track the project's profitability, we also want to track that project's profitability as it relates to the portfolio that is in place. So because we'd like to track the whole portfolio in and of itself. Okay. Finally, as mentioned, we've got the portfolios right there. So we've got the business objectives and the proposals. We want to make sure that we're rolling out the proper projects at the proper time. So based on that, we are going to talk about centralized project collaboration utilizing Project Server and SharePoint. And what I'll do is I will go ahead and get to the demo. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the basic. We've pretty much got the latest. We've got the lowest level, which is the Excel, and we are tracking all our tasks and our projects in here. And as you can see, we've got a task name, we've got the duration, we've got the start, we've got the finish. So this is great, as mentioned, because you'll be able to collaborate with the teams, but it's really up to you to kind of keep this up to date. Now, taking the next step and integrating it with SharePoint, what you would do in this case is you would pop open a SharePoint site. And in this case, we've got a project called HECH. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and go into the documents itself. And readily, what we'll do is we'll take that same Excel project plan and we'll just simply upload it into SharePoint, just like that. And what I will do at this point is I will share this with one of my colleagues. So what we'll do is we'll share it with Raheem and inform Raheem, please update we'll say, Raheem, please take a look at your assignments and update your assigned risk in the project site. So what'll happen is when I share this, Raheem will get an email thus displaying the integration with your email systems that'll basically say, hey, look, Raheem, I've uploaded my plan. Please get a chance to take a look at it. And also by sharing it, what you're doing is you are giving him access to this particular document in general, as well as the site. So one of the things you'll see is if I go here, you will see the document has been uploaded. You will see the risk that is there, and you will also see the email that's been sent out based off of my uploading of that particular document. All right. Now, taking the next step would be the utilizing Microsoft Project for managing the project. So what I've got here is I've got the same Excel task list, but you can see that I've got it in Microsoft Project. There's my Gantt, there's my Gantt chart, and I've also got a timeline, which I can go ahead and add timeline events to. And then once I do that, out of the box, this particular file will synchronize with SharePoint or Office 365. It's really just a matter of attributing that SharePoint site to this particular project file. And when I hit save, it'll go ahead and get updated. And in doing so, you will see, I went ahead and did it previously, but it will create a site similar to this, and you can go ahead and click on the tasks, and you can see that the information is updated and synchronized along with my assignments to the folks that have been assigned this particular task. All right. So you can see that there are my resources, and there are the tasks. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. However, what's missing with this a lot of times is that portfolio level roll up, or that ability to take a look at the projects as they relate to a greater group of projects. And that's when you would utilize a solution like Project Online or Microsoft Project Server. An example of that would be here. This is what's called a Microsoft Project Online. And you can see that we've got a number of projects that are listed here. And I can click into a project and view the details from that project plan that have been published. So in this case, I've went ahead and clicked on this HECH project, and I can see the different phases and the costs associated to these phases. How are those costs getting in there? Well, as mentioned, they can either be imported through an ERP process. From a forecasting standpoint, I can upload all my resources and basically assign a cost to them, which will calculate the cost on this as they are calculated in a Microsoft project. In addition to that, I can change the views where I can have this task cost. I can also have a summary, which would change the fields that are located here, that are visible. So instead of looking at things from a cost perspective, I can look at things from either a percentage complete standpoint, from a work standpoint, etc. And as I'm managing these individual projects, you can see how they break down based off of phase, based off of who the project manager is, etc. Let me show you how that would work. Project Online allows you to change the views. So in this case, I've got project managers from multiple locations. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and select projects by location, and you can see the details based off of that location. This becomes valuable if you manage Dominguez Hills, or you manage Fullerton, or you manage Long Beach, and you want to see things kind of in a nutshell. Another way that you can slice and dice it is to break things down by the project manager. So in this case, I manage a subset of project managers, and I want to see whether Matilda thinks that the HECH project is in trouble. And as you can see here, I can see that based off of the red, yellow, green indicator that is detailed there. Also, what you can see is you've got different icons here, which become really, really valuable when it relates to the group collaboration of the site. So when I mention group collaboration, I can look here and say, oh, look, this particular site has some risks, or this particular site has some documents. I should take a look and see what's going on there. So I can either click on these particular links to go directly to the item, or I can go into the HECH and, site, which is attributed to it. And I can see the documents here that are broken down. So as you saw earlier, we uploaded a document called Build a House. And then as you can see here, we've got shipping is late on hardware, and we've got it assigned to Raheem. So in this case, what we can do is we don't have it tied to link, but I would have the presence information where I can click on Raheem's name and send him a direct instant message to ask for an update for this particular item. I can also send them an email, or I can pretty much interact with them. We mentioned before about responsiveness, and we mentioned before about making sure that you communicate with your project managers. And this is a very, very clean way to be able to see the risks that is visible to Raheem, and also be able to see what kind of progress he's had with that particular risk. Now, the question may come up, how does he see those risks? Well, the way that he sees those risks is when he logs in to the system, he gets his own dashboard, if you will, of his assignments. Let me show you what that dashboard would look like. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the home page. And as you can see here, we've got the home page where the system knows who I am. And we've got the quick links, which kind of tells me that these are the projects. This is what I click to get to my projects. This is what I click to get to my assigned tasks. And this is what I click to my assigned issues and risks. One of the things that Raheem will have when he goes into the system is he'll be able to go and click risks, similar to what I'm doing here. And he can see that that risk has something to do with the conversion project. And I can click that conversion link. And see the detail of that particular risk. So in this case, the server order may be delayed due to an East Coast blizzard. So we can go in and say, okay, I should update that and follow up that particular server issue. Now, you're looking at the projects, you're managing the projects all together, you're managing the individuals, and what's missing is the actual roll-up of the information. And where that comes valuable is Project Online and Project Server gives you the ability to report off of the unique metrics that your company may have based off of the milestones that are important to you, or the time, or the resources, or the budget and costs. So one of the things that is great about Microsoft Project Online is the ability to take that information and create quick dashboards. So what I'm sharing with you right now is a dashboard, which is a program report. So if I wanted to take a look and say, this is the CHRS program, and these are all the projects that contribute to it. I'm interested in that conversion program, in that conversion project. Give me some more details about it. So what I could do is I can click on the conversion project, and you can see that the dashboard updates based off of the project that I select. I know that Jack is managing that project. I know that it's 93% complete from the get-go. I can see that the project finish date is pending, and I can also see the milestones that are basically detailed there. Now, where is this information coming from? This information is coming from that project plan that's being updated not only by the project manager, but also from the resources that are communicating their updates to that project manager. So at any given point in time, what we could do is we could take this program report, integrate different types of costs, different types of different types of cost information, different types of issues and risk information, anything associated with the Microsoft, anything associated with the project itself can be kind of detailed here. And as you click on it, you'll have the unique information that is available based off of the how the project is being managed. How is this project being managed? Well, it's being managed in Microsoft Project. Am I managing that project any different than I'd manage a regular project because I'm trying to feed that information into this particular format? No, not really. What I'm doing is I am going in and opening up my project, but instead of opening it up locally, I'm actually connecting to a centralized server that is hosted either internally or through an Office 365 solution called Project Online. One thing that you see here is that Microsoft Project is connecting to my instance, and what it'll allow me to do is pull a project directly from the server itself. So on, giving it the eye test, it looks just like Microsoft Project. However, one of the things that you can do is you can go in, connect to the server, pull up the project that's on the server, and in this case, we'll pull up the HECH project and edit it in read-only. And that will bring up the version of the project that is saved at the root. Now, once you have this information, a project manager has the ability to save the project for himself, because maybe you're working on your project, but it's not really ready to be shared with the rest of the organization because you either haven't updated your resources, or you haven't, you've got a change request that's coming in, and you're just doing a what-if scenario with your project plan, and you're not really working on it. That particular information isn't really active yet. So you have the ability to save, and then once you actually save it and get the project plan where it's supposed to be, then what you'll have the ability to do is publish it, so that way everyone can see the respective changes. Another key difference in a connected environment with Microsoft Project versus a standalone is you have what's called a centralized resource pool, which allows you to manage your resources more effectively. So let's say, for example, that I've got certain resources that I want to make available for this particular project. And in this case, I can see which resources I have assigned, but I also have this quote unquote generic resource or placeholder resource of a SharePoint subject matter expert. And I want, everywhere that subject matter expert is assigned, I want to replace it with a true flesh and blood resource. Well, in a connected environment, what you'll have the ability to do is match this role with people that also serve that role. So I can see that I have that role, Matilda has that role, and so does Zach. So one of the things I can do is, you know what, I really want Joel on this project, but I also wanted to see Zach's availability. What I can do is I can just take a look at these, I can just highlight these items and hit a graph, and I'll get an availability graph, and which will tell us exactly what this person is working on at any point in time. I'll also be able to see, what the impact will be if I slide this particular person into that based on that person's workload. So that will give me the opportunity to say, okay, great. My project can be delayed a little bit while I wait for Zach to have that availability to contribute to my particular project. Another add-on to the connected environment is that you can manage and centralize the project templates that are created to when you throw out a project plan. As mentioned before, I've worked with a number of organizations, and they basically are challenged with a project manager using one template and another project manager using another template. And sometimes the vernacular or the language that they use is different. For example, when I was working for a client, there were 2 departments that have a go live milestone that they tracked. And I was working with those departments directly, and basically both departments are contributed to my plan. However, when I said, my definition of a go live was released to the public, their definition of a go live was released to test. So those languages could be totally different. That situation can be alleviated by utilizing what's called enterprise templates, where I could go in and go file new to create a new project. And instead of using these great out of the box templates, I could standardize to an enterprise template and say, okay, I've got a conversion project. I'm going to go ahead and click the conversion template. And that'll give me the starting point to begin, because I've got the I've got the discovery phase, I've got the design and develop phase, and the database activities all there. So you don't have to take different components from other projects, because the PMO has pretty much taken this information, approved it, and moved forward with it. Thus, everyone has the ability to use this particular template towards the furtherance and creation of their particular projects. That is pretty much all the topics and all the information that I kind of wanted to discuss. So let me go back into the presentation. All right. And Lucas, can you do we have any questions out there that have been
Yeah, we do.
Okay,
it looks
excellent.
like we have one question from Glenn, who asked, do you follow the Scrum methodology, as our team uses that as a best practice?
Personally, good question. So within our organization, we do the SharePoint team does follow the Scrum methodology, and we utilize it to pretty much manage our projects. We put everything in 2-week sprints to make sure that we've got deliverables in place at the end, and basically that's how we do it. So yes. Are there any other questions?
We got one more here. Yeah,
Sure.
We got one here from Margaret. Is this available as a recording? I have an employee that I think would utilize this.
Yeah, definitely. I believe we're recording it now. If not, we can definitely have a follow-up meeting where we can do either a tailored web demonstration, or just share a conversation to address the specific needs of that person's colleague.
Yeah, and Margaret, to your question, we will be following up with all the attendees today, and this will be posted on our website as well as our YouTube channel, which has a lot of these types of videos. So I would highly advise checking that YouTube channel out. So we do have another one from Joseph. So
Sure.
If we want to adopt to use enterprise level project server, you didn't say how we should start. Does the PMO need to be templatization? What are the adoption paths? If project server activated by default on our Office 365, or we have to get E3? You want to break that down into a couple questions, Joel?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Obviously, a lot of times when you're starting, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you get the right tools for the right job, and you also want to make sure that you have a good handle on your internal methodology. With regards to starting off, you do have 2 options to start off. You can either go with an on-premises implementation of this type of solution called Microsoft Project Server, or if you have Office 365, there is a component add-on that you would have to add a subscription to called Project Online. And to be honest with you, the demo that we participated in today was Project Online. So it's really the hosted version of Microsoft Project Server. So kind of to get started, what I would recommend is that you you have your processes and your procedures in place. You have a good handle on those. You have a good handle on the particular goals, and then you contact an organization like FMT, which would be able to help kind of tailor the solution to the technology that you're rolling out, because there is there's a lot to configure, and there's a lot to consider when you're implementing a project online, if you will. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're not only implementing the project management solution for how you do business now, but you also want to consider how you're going to be doing business in 3 months and 6 months, based off of the new functionality that you may not even be aware of, or existing technology which you may not even be aware of in Microsoft Project Online, that we can definitely help you out with.
Yeah, and Joseph, a lot of these questions I think can be addressed when we kind of do the follow-up with a lot of our attendees, because our account executives who are experts in the licensing field can kind of help you with that path. So we will be following up with everybody after this. Glenn did say thank you, Joel, for answering his Scrum methodology question. I thought I might add. And
great.
With that, it looks like all the questions are answered.
Okay, great. Couple things to keep in mind. Next month, we are actually going to be having FMT is actually going to be sponsoring the Los Angeles SharePoint user group, and we're going to hold our inaugural meeting at the Microsoft facility in Playa Vista. So when the folks follow up with you, they'll be kind of sharing with you more information on this particular event. Basically, what we're trying to do is kind of engage and mobilize the SharePoint and Office 365 community by providing not just business presentations, but also more detailed technical presentations. Today, we kind of went over a little bit of methodology. We shared with you some of the details for how a lot of organizations utilize project management solutions, but in events like this, we actually go deeper. So that's definitely a value add, as well as we feed you. So if you're in the greater Los Angeles area on Thursday the 21st, we'd love to have you there.
Yeah, and we're really excited about this event. It's gone that group has gone kind of dormant in the past couple of years, and FMT really wants to bring that back to the forefront and get that going, so we could all collaborate and really have successful projects.
Definitely.
And with that, I would like to. Oh, go on ahead, Joel.
One last thing. As I mentioned before, if your question hasn't been answered, or if you prefer a more one-on-one kind of conversation to some of your project management requirements, that's my contact information. There will be other FMT folks that will be following up with you, but feel free to drop me an email or give me a call, and I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions towards anything that you've seen today.
Thanks, Joel, and thank you for the presentation. Everybody still on the line, thank you for joining us today. If you have any other questions, just like Joel and myself has said, we will be following up with all the attendees, so feel free to ask at that time. We truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join, and we hope to see you at our future events. Have a great day.